Once upon a time, in a magical forest filled with glowing fireflies and sparkling streams, lived a tiny bunny named Pip. Pip had the softest, fluffiest fur, the color of a fluffy white cloud, and big, gentle eyes that shimmered like dewdrops in the morning sun. The forest was a wonderful place. The trees whispered secrets to the wind, the flowers sang quiet songs, and the moonlight spread like a soft, silvery blanket over everything. Pip loved his home, but he was a very, very shy bunny. He loved to watch the other animals play. He saw the squirrels chattering as they chased each other up tall oak trees. And he heard the frogs croaking happy songs by the lily pond. Pip wished he could join in, but whenever he tried to say hello, his voice would get stuck in his throat, and he'd just wiggle his nose instead. He was afraid of speaking. He worried his voice was too small, too quiet, and that no one would listen. So, Pip became a master of quiet kindness. He would find the sweetest, juiciest berries and leave them on the doorstep of Mrs. Badger, who had a hard time finding food. He would gather the softest moss and make a little bed for the ladybugs to rest on when it rained. He never said a word, but his heart was full of love for his forest friends. They all knew these kind gifts were from a secret friend, and it made them smile. One evening, a hush fell over the forest. It was different from the usual peaceful quiet of the night. It was a nervous quiet. The fireflies stopped glowing. The moon hid behind a dark cloud, and the whispering trees went silent. A great ancient tree at the heart of the forest, known as the Whispering Willow, had suddenly lost its light. The willow's leaves, which usually shimmered with a gentle, magical glow, had turned dark and grey. The whole forest felt sad and cold without its light. The wisest animal in the forest, a great old owl named Professor Hoot, gathered everyone around. He looked very worried. "The Whispering Willow's heart crystal is fading," he announced in his deep, rumbling voice. "Without its light, our forest will lose its magic and warmth. The crystal can only be rekindled by a song of true kindness, sung from the purest heart." All the animals looked at each other. The birds, known for their beautiful songs, tried first. They sang their most lovely melodies, but the willow remained dark. The bears hummed their deepest, most comforting tunes, but nothing happened. Even the tiny crickets chirped their happiest songs, but the great tree's leaves stayed grey. Everyone tried, but no song seemed to work. They were all kind, but something was missing. The forest grew colder, and the animals started to shiver, their hope fading like the willow's light. Pip watched from behind a large mushroom, his little heart pounding in his chest. He knew the song. It wasn't a song of words, but a song of feelings. A song he felt every time he helped a friend, every time he shared a berry, every time he wished he could say hello. It was a song of quiet love. He was so scared. His voice was just a tiny squeak. How could his little song possibly work when the big, beautiful songs of the other animals had failed? He looked at his friends, huddled together and looking so sad. He saw the little fireflies, their lights gone, looking like tiny dark specks. He looked at the beautiful forest, his home growing darker and colder. He knew he had to try. Even if he was scared, he had to try for them. Taking a tiny, deep breath, Pip hopped out from behind the mushroom. Everyone turned to look at the small, shy bunny. He was trembling from the tips of his long ears to the bottom of his fluffy feet. He walked slowly toward the great, dark willow tree. He closed his big, gentle eyes and thought of all the love he had for his home and his friends. And then he began to sing. It wasn't a loud song. It was barely more than a whisper, a soft, sweet hum that seemed to float on the air like a dandelion seed. It was a simple tune, filled with all the kindness he had shared without words. He hummed about the sweetness of the berries he'd left for Mrs. Badger, the softness of the moss beds he'd made for the ladybugs, and the warmth he felt watching his friends play happily. It was a song straight from his heart. At first, no one could hear it. But then, Professor Hoot tilted his head. "Listen," he whispered, and everyone fell completely silent. Pip's tiny, humble song began to grow, not in volume, but in feeling. It was like a warm hug in the form of a sound. Slowly, magically, a tiny spark of light appeared at the base of the whispering willow. The heart crystal began to glow faintly at first, then brighter and brighter. The light traveled up the trunk, spreading through every branch and into every leaf. The willow's leaves began to shimmer once more with their beautiful, magical glow, bathing the forest in a warm, gentle light. The fireflies started to glow again, dancing round Pip like tiny, floating stars. The moon peeked out from behind the cloud, smiling down on the forest. The other animals stared in awe. They hadn't understood before. It wasn't about having the loudest or prettiest voice. It was about having the kindest heart. Pip's quiet song, full of pure, selfless love, was the truest song of all. When Pip finished his song, he opened his eyes. The forest was bright and warm again, more beautiful than ever. All the animals were looking at him, not with confusion, but with love and gratitude. The big bear gave him a gentle smile. The squirrels chattered, but this time it sounded like they were cheering for him. Professor Hoot flew down and landed softly beside Pip. "Thank you, little one," he said warmly. "You have taught us all a very important lesson tonight. Bravery isn't always loud. Sometimes the quietest courage and the kindest heart are the most powerful things in the world." From that day on, Pip was still a quiet bunny. He still preferred to hum his happy songs to himself, but he was no longer afraid. He knew that his quiet kindness had a voice of its own, a voice that could save a forest. And whenever an animal in the forest felt sad or scared, they would remember the little bunny who saved them all, not with a roar, but with a whisper of love. And Pip, our brave little bunny, finally felt like he belonged. And he would often join his friends, sharing a happy, quiet smile. And they all lived peacefully and happily in their warm, glowing forest. The end.